The underestimated species, the Galactic Council chamber, fell silent as Ambassador Crestel of the Vorthok Empire delivered his ultimatum. His 6 eyes gleamed with predatory satisfaction as he surveyed the assembled representatives from across known space. The massive crystalline dome overhead cast ethereal light patterns across the delegates, but none were more striking than the lone human sitting at the far end of the crescent-shaped table. "The matter is settled," Crestel announced, his voice carrying the authority of a species that had conquered 17 star systems. "Earth will surrender 30% of its industrial output, submit to Vorthok oversight, and provide tribute. Ships within 1 standard rotation. The alternative is complete annihilation." Murmurs rippled through the chamber. The Zephyrians' feathered crests rustled nervously. The silicon-based Christek delegates chimed in harmonious concern. Even the ancient ethereals, beings of pure energy who rarely showed emotion, flickered with our knees. Ambassador Sarah Chen, the human representative, remained perfectly still. Her dark hair was pulled back in a simple bun, her business suit unremarkable compared to the exotic forms and elaborate ceremonial garments around her. She appeared to be taking notes on a primitive paper padan affectation that many species found quaint and backward. "The Council recognizes the human delegate," announced Saramoth, the ethereal who served as Council Speaker. "Ambassador Chen, your species has 7 planetary cycles to consider the Vorthok terms." Sarah stood slowly, placing her pen down with deliberate precision. When she spoke, her voice carried none of the fear or desperation the assembled delegates expected. "With respect to the Council, we decline the generous offer from the Vorthok Empire." The chamber erupted in shocked, chittering, clicking, and harmonic dissonance. Crestel's 6 eyes narrowed to slits. "You decline." He leaned forward, his massive frame dwarfing the podium. "Perhaps your translators malfunctioned, human." This was not an offer. This was a demand backed by the full might of the Vorthok war machine. Sarah smiled, her expression that seemed to unnerve several delegates. "Oh, I heard you perfectly, Ambassador. We simply choose not to comply." "You cannot be serious," interjected Velta of the hegemony, her serpentine body coiling in agitation. "The Vorthok fleet numbers in the thousands. They have plasma cannons that can crack moons, shield technology that has never been penetrated, and warriors bred for nothing but conquest. Your species has been in space for less than 2 centuries. "That's true," Sarah acknowledged. "We're relatively new to the galactic community. But you see, you've all made a fundamental error in your assessment of humanity." She walked slowly around the table, her footsteps echoing in the sudden quiet. "You've judged us by our technology, our ship counts, our colonial holdings, standard metrics for galactic civilizations, but those metrics don't account for one crucial factor. And what might that be?" Crestel's voice dripped with contempt. Sarah stopped directly in front of the Vorthok delegation. Despite being half their size, her presence seemed to fill the space between them. "You've never seen humans at war." The Vorthok ambassador's laugh was like grinding stone. "Your species has been in several minor conflicts since joining the Council. Border skirmishes with pirates, resource disputes with the outer colonies. Hardly impressive." "Those weren't wars, Ambassador. Those were police actions." Sarah's smile never wavered, but something cold flickered in her eyes. "Humanity hasn't fought a real war in over 300 years. Not since we unified our homeworld. Do you know why?" "Because you're weak," Crestel snarled. "Because you lack the spine for true combat. Because we're too good at it." The chamber fell deadly silent. Even the ethereals stopped their constant energy fluctuations, Sarah continued, her voice taking on an almost conversational tone. You see, most species develop spaceflight and then encounter other races. They learn diplomacy, trade, cooperation. Their wars become formalized, constrained by galactic convention and council oversight. But humanity, we spent 10,000 years perfecting the art of killing each other before we ever left our planet. She gestured to her simple attire. You think this makes me look primitive, weak. Let me tell you what this represents. This is the uniform of a species that developed 17 different ways to split atoms before we had reliable spaceflight. A species that mapped the human genome and engineered biological weapons in the same century. We created artificial intelligence advanced enough to threaten our existence, then enslaved it to serve us. The Christec delegate's harmonic voice cracked with static. Surely you exaggerate. Sarah turned to him, her expression almost pitying. Earth's first nuclear weapon was detonated in 1945. By 1960, we had enough atomic weapons to sterilize our planet's surface 50 times over. Not because we were at war, but because we wanted to be prepared for war. She began walking again, addressing the entire chamber. We fought wars where millions died in single battles. We developed gases that could melt the lungs from your body. We created weapons that could target specific ethnic groups based on genetic markers. We built machines that could level cities and turned weather itself into a weapon. If this is true, Veltar hissed, why hasn't any of this technology appeared in your space forces? Because we learned the ultimate lesson of warfare, Sarah replied. The most dangerous enemy is the one who doesn't look dangerous. For 3 centuries, we've let the galaxy see us as we wanted to be, seen peaceful, cooperative, civilized. We've hidden our true nature so well that we've almost forgotten it ourselves. She stopped at her seat, but didn't sit down. But you've just reminded us who we used to be, Ambassador Crestal. And I should thank you for that. The Vorthok ambassador's confidence finally showed its first crack. You're bluffing. If humanity possessed such capabilities, the Council would know, would they? Sarah's smile became predatory. Tell me, how many human colonies have you visited? How many human ships have you actually inspected? You know what? We've chosen to show you agricultural worlds, research stations, trading posts. But what about the worlds we've never mentioned? The systems not listed in any council registry. She reached into her jacket and withdrew a small device. Several delegates flinched, but it was merely a communicator. Admiral Morrison, please respond to Council Chamber 7. The device crackled to life with a clear, professional voice. Admiral Morrison here, Ambassador. Standing by with the 7th Fleet at designated coordinates. How many ships, Admiral? 1,237 vessels currently operational, ma'am. The 3rd, 9th, and 15th Fleets report ready status from their positions. The mathematical implications hit the chamber like a shockwave. If the 7th Fleet alone numbered over 1,000 ships, and there were multiple fleets, Admiral, please give our guests a demonstration of our transparency policy regarding military capabilities. Initiating now, ma'am. Stealth fields disengaging across all human-controlled space. Every delegate's personal scanner, ship sensor, and monitoring device suddenly screamed with alerts. Where empty space had existed moments before, massive fleets materialized throughout the galaxy. Hidden shipyards revealed themselves in asteroid belts. Weapons platforms uncloaked in seemingly vacant systems in the space around the council station itself. The elegant diplomatic vessel that had brought Ambassador Chen was suddenly flanked by 2 massive dreadnoughts. their weapon arrays charging. With ominous energy, Kreshtel stumbled backward, his 6 eyes wide with shock. This is impossible. Our sensors would have detected your sensors, detected exactly what we wanted them to detect, Sarah interrupted. Just as your intelligence networks learned exactly what we wanted them to learn. For 300 years, we've been preparing. For this moment, the day someone would mistake our civility for weakness. She activated her communicator again. Admiral, fleet status report. All fleets report battle readiness. Ambassador, Correct, Damocles, is fully operational. We have target locks on every Vorthok military installation, shipyard, and command center, awaiting orders. The revelation, the council chamber had descended into chaos. Delegates were frantically communicating with their homeworlds, trying to process the impossible data flooding their sensors. The serene diplomatic environment had transformed into something resembling a war room as the true scope of human military capability became clear. Through it all, Ambassador Sarah Chen stood calmly at her position, watching the pandemonium with the patience of someone who had expected exactly this reaction. Order. Zaramoth's S-energy form blazed brighter as the ethereal speaker tried to regain control. Order in the chamber. Gradually, the chaos subsided, but the tension remained electric. Every delegate stared at the human ambassador with a mixture of fear, awe, and betrayal. Ambassador Chen, Zaramoth's voice carried centuries of diplomatic experience, but even the ancient ethereal couldn't completely mask their shock. The Council demands an explanation. The concealment of military assets of this magnitude violates 17 different galactic treaties. Sarah nodded respectfully. With due respect, Speaker Saramath, we violated nothing. Every treaty humanity has signed has been meticulously followed. We've never lied about our capabilities, we simply haven't advertised them. Semantics, Kreshtel roared, though his voice had lost much of its earlier confidence. You've deceived the entire galactic community, have we? Sarah's tone remained conversational. Or have you all deceived yourselves? Let me share some history that might clarify our perspective. She activated a holographic projector, filling the chamber's center with images of Earth's past. Battles raged across ancient landscapes. Weapons of unimaginable destruction turned cities to ash, and millions of soldiers marched across continents. This is the battle of the Some Earth year. 1916. In a single day, 60,000 humans died. Not in a war lasting years, in one day. By the time this conflict ended, 10 million were dead. The image shifted to mushroom clouds, rising over cities. Hiroshima and Nagasaki, 1945. The first and last time nuclear weapons were used in warfare. On our world. Not because we couldn't use them again, but because we realized we shouldn't. More images flowed. Chemical weapons choking soldiers in trenches. Aerial bombardments reducing cities to rubble. Submarines stalking the depths of Earth's oceans. World War II, 70 million dead. The Korean War, 5 million. Vietnam, 3 million. And these were just the largest conflicts. Humanity spent millennia in a constant state of warfare, each generation developing more efficient ways to kill. Felt our serpentine form coiled tighter. If your species was so violent, how did you achieve planetary unity? We scared ourselves. Into it, Sarah replied bluntly. By 1960, we had created weapons capable of ending all life on our planet. The Cuban Missile Crisis brought us 13 minutes away from global thermonuclear war, 13 minutes from extinction. The hologram showed images of massive silos, submarines bristling with missiles, and bombers carrying payloads of destruction. We realized that our talent for warfare had reached its logical conclusion, mutual annihilation. So we made a choice. We turned our greatest weakness into our greatest strength. We unified not out of love, but out of fear of what we might do to ourselves. But why hide this from the galactic community? Asked Mordic of the Trade Federation. Surely such military prowess would have granted you greater respect, better trading positions. Sarah's expression grew sad, because we learned another lesson from our history. The strong are always feared, and the feared are always challenged. We wanted to join galactic civilization, not conquer it. So we became what we thought you wanted us to be, peaceful explorers, eager to learn and trade. She gestured to the data still streaming across delegate screens. But we never forgot who we really were underneath. Every human colony has defensive capabilities that would make most species' homeworld defenses look primitive. Every research station is also a military outpost. Every civilian transport can be weaponized within hours. The stealth technology alone, whispered Dr. Dizes of the Science Collective, it's decades beyond anything we've achieved. Centuries, Sarah corrected. We've been refining it since before we left our solar system. You see, when you spend 10,000 years trying to hide from enemies, you get very good at not being seen. Kreshtal, who had been silent during the historical presentation, finally spoke. His voice was hoarse, stripped of its earlier arrogance. What do you want? From us, nothing, Sarah replied simply. That's what makes this so tragic, Ambassador. We genuinely wanted peace. We came to the galactic community seeking friends, not subjects. We've contributed to council research, participated in cultural exchanges, helped mediate disputes between other species. We've done everything we could to be the neighbors you wanted us to be. She looked directly at the Vorthok delegation. But you've just declared war on a species that has spent 300 years preparing for exactly this scenario. You forced us to remember what we really are. The chamber fell silent, except for the soft hum of life support systems. Finally, Speaker Zaramoth asked the question everyone was thinking. What happens now? Sarah seemed to consider the question carefully. That depends on the Vorthok Empire. You have a choice, Ambassador Crest. You can withdraw your ultimatum, acknowledge that this was a diplomatic miscalculation, and we can all pretend this never happened. Humanity will go back to being the peaceful species you thought we were. And the alternative? Sarah's smile returned, but there was nothing warm about it now. The alternative is that you learn why humanity hasn't fought a real war in 3 centuries. Not because we're peaceful, but because we're so good at warfare that when we fight, there's usually no one left to fight back. She activated her communicator one final time. Admiral Morrison, please provide Ambassador Kreshtal with a tactical analysis of the current situation. The Admiral's voice was crisp and professional. Certainly, Ambassador. We currently have targeting solutions for 1,247 Vorthok military installations across 17 systems. Our stealth platforms have been in position for the past 18 months. Total time from order to complete neutralization of Vorthok military capability, approximately 14 minutes. The silence that followed was deafening. Kreshtal S6. Eyes darted frantically between the displays showing human fleet positions and the calm figure of Ambassador Chen. When he spoke, his voice was barely a whisper. 14 minutes to destroy an empire. To neutralize military targets, Sarah corrected gently. We're not monsters, Ambassador. We don't target civilians, but your military infrastructure, your command centers, your shipyards, yes. 14 minutes. The Vorthok ambassador's massive frame seemed to deflate. The ultimatum is withdrawn. Excellent. Sarah's professional demeanor returned as if a switch had been flipped. I'm glad we could resolve this diplomatically, Admiral. Morrison, you may stand down to normal patrol status. Acknowledged, Ambassador. All fleets returning to stealth configuration. As quickly as they had appeared, the massive human fleets faded from sensors, vanishing back into the cosmic background as if they had never existed. Sarah gathered her papers and prepared to leave, then paused as if remembering something. One more thing for the Council records. Humanity has been monitoring this chamber for the past 2 hours. Everything said here today has been recorded and transmitted to every human colony and fleet command. If anything happens to me or any human representative in the future, it won't be seen as an unfortunate accident. She smiled pleasantly at the shocked faces around the table. We've learned to be very protective of our diplomats. It's amazing what 3 centuries of paranoid preparation can accomplish. As Ambassador Sarah Chen walked out of the council chamber, her footsteps echoing in the stunned silence, every delegate was left with the same chilling realization. They had just learned that the most dangerous predator in the galaxy was the one that had convinced everyone it was prey. The age of underestimating humanity was over.
The Awakening. The emergency transmission cut through the static of deep space, desperate and broken. This is Admiral Hayes of the Earth Defense Fleet. We are overrun. The Krell have breached the Arcturus line. Earth has less than 2 weeks. Our only hope lies in the Prometheus Protocol. I repeat, activate the Prometheus Protocol. Coordinates follow. Sector 17, Quadrant 9, Vega System. God help us all. Commander Maya Chen stood frozen on the bridge of the ESS Harbinger, her face illuminated by the red emergency lights. The message played again, Admiral Hayes' voice breaking with each word. The bridge crew sat in stunned silence. The Arcturus line was supposed to be impenetrable, humanity's final defensive perimeter. If it had fallen, Earth was as good as conquered. Commander, what's the Prometheus Protocol? Lieutenant Cato asked, breaking the silence. Maya's eyes remained fixed on the holographic star map. Something from the old war, something we weren't supposed to need. She straightened her uniform and turned to face her crew. It's a war titan, the last of its kind. A weapon so powerful that after the lunar conflict, all governments agreed to decommission them and bury the technology. A titan. Navigator Wilson whispered. I thought those were just myths to scare children. No myth, Maya replied, her voice hardening. My grandfather helped build them. Walking fortresses 30 stories tall, armed with enough firepower to glass a continent, piloted by a single human connected directly to its neural core. She punched the coordinates into the navigational system. And apparently, we kept one. Insurance policy against extinction. The Harbinger was a scout ship, not a warship, fast and stealthy with a crew of only 12. They weren't meant for this kind of mission, but they were the only ship within range of the Vega system that could possibly reach the coordinates before the Krell reached Earth. Set course for the Vega system, Maya ordered. Maximum burn. That'll drain our fuel reserves to critical levels, Chief Engineer Ortiz warned. If we don't find this Titan, there won't be a home to return to anyway. As the Harbinger jumped to FTL speeds, Maya retreated to her quarters and accessed the ship's historical archives. The Prometheus Protocol was buried deep, requiring her highest clearance codes. What she found made her blood run cold. Project Prometheus, the final Titan built before the ban. Unlike its predecessors, which were purely mechanical constructs controlled by human pilots, Prometheus was different. Its neural core was partially organic, designed to fully merge with its pilot's consciousness. The synergy created something greater than the sum of its parts, a hybrid consciousness of human intuition and machine precision. The last test pilot had nearly lost his mind in the process. 3 days later, the Harbinger dropped out of FTL on the edge of the Vega system, a system supposedly abandoned after mining operations ceased decades ago. "Scan for artificial structures," Maya ordered. "Nothing on primary scanners," Lieutenant Kaito reported. "Wait, detecting a gravitational anomaly near the 5th planet. It's massive but somehow shielded from our sensors. Take us in closer, quiet running," Maya commanded. As they approached, the 5th planet came into view, a gas giant with swirling storms of purple and blue. Orbiting it was what appeared to be a small moon, but as they drew closer, the true nature of the object became clear. "That's no moon," Wilson gasped. "It's a station, or what's left of one." The structure was half embedded in the captured asteroid, its design unmistakably human but ancient. No lights showed on its surface. It looked dead, abandoned for decades. "Life signs?" Maya asked. "None detected," Kaito replied. "But there's minimal power output from somewhere deep inside. And," he paused, adjusting his instruments, "there's a docking bay still pressurized." Maya made her decision. "Prepare a boarding party. Me, Kaito, Chief Ortiz, and Dr. Evans. Full EVA gear and weapons. I don't care how abandoned this place looks." The shuttle journey to the station was tense and silent. As they approached the docking bay, ancient automated systems stirred to life, guiding them in with flickering guidance lights. Once docked, the team cycled through the airlock, weapons ready. The interior of the station was a tomb. Emergency lights cast long shadows down empty corridors. The air was stale but breathable. They followed the power signature deeper into the complex, through corridors designed for a different era of humanity. "These markings," Dr. Evans said, running her gloved hand over a faded insignia. "United Earth Defense Initiative. This place predates the Federation." Finally, they reached a massive reinforced door, sealed with both mechanical and electronic locks. Chief Ortiz whistled. "I've never seen security like this. It'll take hours to bypass." Maya stepped forward, examining the ancient control panel. Following an instinct, she pressed her palm against the scanner. Nothing happened for a moment. Then a mechanical voice spoke. "Genetic profile recognized. Chen, Maya. Descendant of Chen, Liang. Access granted." The team looked at her in surprise. "My grandfather," Maya explained quietly as the massive door began to grind open. "He never told me exactly what he worked on." The chamber beyond was vast, a cavernous hangar that stretched into darkness. As they stepped inside, motion sensors detected their presence, and lights began to activate in sequence, illuminating the true scale of the room. And there it stood, Prometheus. The Titan towered above them, a colossus of midnight black metal and composite materials that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Its humanoid form was elegant yet terrifying, arms ending in what could be weapons platforms, a chest housing what appeared to be a massive reactor core, and a head that was more sensor array than anything resembling a face. Even standing dormant, it radiated power and menace. "My God," Evans whispered. "It must be 300 feet tall." As they approached, a hologram flickered to life before them. An old man in a lab coat, his image distorted and glitching. "If you're seeing this," the hologram said, "then humanity has faced its darkest hour. I am Dr. Liang Chen, lead designer of Project Prometheus. This Titan is humanity's last defense, our final answer to extinction." Maya felt her heart skip a beat at the sight of her grandfather, decades younger than her memories of him. The hologram continued. "Prometheus is unlike any weapon humanity has created. It doesn't just respond to a pilot. It bonds with them, creating a single consciousness capable of calculations and reactions beyond either human or AI capabilities. But this comes at a cost." The hologram's expression turned grave. The neural load is immense. Our last test pilot survived just 72 hours before cerebral hemorrhaging began. We never solved this problem. Maya looked up at the Titan, understanding now why it had been hidden away rather than destroyed. Too dangerous to use, too powerful to discard. The pilot interface chamber is located at the base of the neck, the hologram explained. The activation sequence requires both biometric confirmation and manual startup procedures, detailed in the control room adjacent to this hangar. Choose your pilot wisely. Their mind will shape what Prometheus becomes. As the hologram faded, an alarm suddenly blared throughout the station. "Commander," Wilson's voice came through their comms. "We've got company. 3 Krell warships just dropped out of FTL. They must have followed our trail." Maya looked up at the Titan, its dormant form suddenly their only hope. "How the hell did they find us?" Kaito demanded. "Doesn't matter," Maya replied, already moving toward the control room. "Ortiz, get those startup sequences. Evans, prep the neural interface. Kaito, get back to the shuttle and help Wilson ready the Harbinger for emergency departure." "What about the pilot?" Evans asked. "If what your grandfather said is true, whoever links with this thing is on a suicide mission." Maya stopped at the entrance to the control room, looking back at the massive Titan. "I'll do it." "Commander, no," protested Ortiz. "You heard the message, 72 hours before brain damage begins." "Earth doesn't have 72 hours, Maya replied. "And I'm not planning on staying linked that long. Just long enough to get this thing to Earth and turn the tide." She turned to face her crew. "That's an order. Now move." As alarms continued to sound, they raced to prepare humanity's last Titan for war. The station shuddered as the first Krell bombardment struck its outer defenses. In the control room, Maya found ancient systems coming online, responding to her presence. Screens showed the Krell ships deploying landing craft. They had minutes, not hours. "Startup sequence initiated," Ortiz reported over comms. "But we've got a problem. The reactor's been in cold storage for decades. It'll take 30 minutes to reach operational capacity." "We don't have 30 minutes, Maya replied, watching as the first Krell boarding pods attached themselves to the station's outer hull. "There's another power source," Evans cut in. "The station itself has fusion generators. We could hotwire them directly into the Titan systems for an emergency jumpstart." "Will that work?" Maya asked. "In theory," Evans replied. "But it'll blow out every system on this station. One-way trip." Maya made her decision. "Do it. I'm heading to the neural interface." As Evans and Ortiz worked to redirect the station's power, Maya climbed the access ladder leading to the Titan's neural interface chamber, nestled at the base of its massive neck. The chamber was small, intimate compared to the Titan's vast frame. A pilot's seat surrounded by neural connectors and life support systems. She settled into the chair, and mechanical arms descended, attaching neural probes to her skull and spine. Pain shot through her body as the first connections were made. "Commander, the Krell have breached the outer hull," Wilson reported through increasingly static-filled comms. "You have maybe 5 minutes before they reach your position." "Understood," Maya replied through gritted teeth. "Status on the power transfer." "Almost there," Ortiz answered. "But Commander, once we flip this switch, there's no going back. The station's systems will overload." "Everyone back to the Harbinger," Maya ordered. "That's a direct command. Get clear of the station." She heard protests, but cut them off. "Earth needs to know what we found, whether this works or not. Now go." As her crew reluctantly returned to their ship, Maya closed her eyes and steeled herself for what was coming. "Power transfer in 3, 2, 1. Transferring now." Ortiz's voice came through one last time before communications died completely. The station's lights flickered and went dark as its power surged into the dormant Titan. Inside the neural chamber, Maya screamed as electricity coursed through the neural connectors into her brain. It felt like her consciousness was being torn apart and reassembled. Memories, thoughts, emotions, all unraveling and then weaving into something larger. And then, she was more than Maya Chen. She was Prometheus. She felt the Titan's systems coming online, power flowing through circuits like blood through veins. The neural merge completed just as the chamber door burst open, revealing the insectoid forms of Krell soldiers, their weapons raised. Maya, now Prometheus, moved. A thought became action as the Titan's massive arm swung upward, smashing through the hangar ceiling. Warning klaxons sounded as the station began to decompress, but it didn't matter anymore. The Titan was awakening, and nothing would stop it now. As the last of the station's power flowed into Prometheus, Maya felt the Titan fully activate. Her consciousness expanded until she could feel every weapon system, every sensor, every joint and servo. The Krell soldiers were swept away as the Titan rose to its full height, tearing through the station's structure like paper. Outside, the 3 Krell warships turned their weapons toward the disintegrating station, but they were too late. Prometheus had awakened, and humanity's last war machine was ready for battle. The Reckoning. Maya's consciousness swam in an ocean of data. The neural interface had merged her mind with Prometheus's vast systems so completely that she could no longer tell where her thoughts ended and the Titan's programming began. The sensation was overwhelming, like suddenly growing new limbs and senses beyond human comprehension. The Titan burst from the crumbling station into the void of space, debris scattering around its massive frame. Through Prometheus's advanced sensor arrays, Maya could see the 3 Krell warships adjusting their positions, their weapons charging. They were sleek, organic-looking vessels with curved hulls that resembled the exoskeletons of their creators. Beautiful in their alien way and utterly deadly. Maya had never piloted anything in vacuum without thrusters or engines, yet somehow she knew exactly what to do. Prometheus's backplates shifted, revealing propulsion vents. With a thought, she activated them, and superheated plasma erupted from the Titan's frame, propelling the Colossus through space with surprising agility. The Krell opened fire. Plasma torpedoes streaked across the void toward Prometheus. Maya raised the Titan's left arm, activating a shield matrix that flared blue against the blackness of space. The torpedoes impacted against it, their energy dissipating across the field. Weapon systems online. Targeting solutions prepared. Recommend primary engagement pattern Theta 7. The thought wasn't hers, yet it was. The Titan's combat AI was interfacing directly with her neural pathways, offering expertise accumulated through simulated battles and theoretical engagements. Maya accepted the suggestion, and Prometheus's right arm transformed, components shifting and locking into place to form a massive particle cannon. She targeted the nearest Krell warship and fired. A lance of blinding energy cut through space, slicing through the enemy vessel's shields and carving a molten gash across its hull. The ship listed to one side, venting atmosphere and debris. The remaining Krell warships adjusted tactics, splitting apart to attack from different vectors. Maya watched them through Prometheus's sensors, calculating trajectories and response options faster than she'd ever thought possible. The neural interface was working exactly as designed, her human intuition melded with machine precision. "Commander Chen, can you hear me?" The voice of Lieutenant Kaido crackled through what remained of her comm system. "The Harbinger is clear of the station. What are your orders?" Maya struggled to form words through the overwhelming sensory input. Speaking felt strange, like a forgotten skill. "Return to Earth," she managed. "Warn them. I'm coming." Through her Titan sensors, she saw the Harbinger accelerate away from the battle, preparing to jump to FTL. Good. The small scout ship stood no chance against the Krell warships. A barrage of energy weapons fire struck Prometheus from behind. Pain flared through Maya's consciousness. Not physical pain, but a system feedback that her brain interpreted as agony. Warning indicators flashed across her mind's eye. The neural interface was translating damage reports into sensations she could understand. She spun the Titan around, facing the attacking warship. With cold precision that wasn't entirely her own, Maya targeted the vessel's engine core and deployed Prometheus's secondary weapons, a cluster of micro-missiles that launched from compartments along the Titan's shoulders. The missiles found their target, detonating in sequence. The Krell ship's engines overloaded, causing a chain reaction that tore the vessel apart from within. The explosion illuminated the gas giant below, casting long shadows across the battlefield. The third and final warship was retreating, accelerating away from the fight. Maya felt a surge of primal satisfaction that disturbed the human part of her. The Titan wanted to pursue, to destroy. Its combat programming recognized no difference between victory and annihilation. Target attempting escape. Pursuit recommended. Maya resisted the impulse. The mission wasn't to hunt Krell ships. It was to reach Earth before the invasion fleet arrived. With effort, she redirected Prometheus's systems, plotting a course for Earth. The Titan's FTL drive was unlike anything in the modern human fleet, not a dimensional fold drive, but something more primitive and far more powerful. As the drive charged, Maya felt energy building within Prometheus's core, reaching levels that would have alarmed her under normal circumstances. Space bent around the Titan as the drive engaged, and they were thrust into the kaleidoscopic tunnel of faster-than-light travel. Inside the neural chamber, Maya's body convulsed as the strain of maintaining the connection intensified. Blood trickled from her nose, but she was barely aware of it. Her consciousness was spread throughout the Titan's systems, monitoring the FTL journey and calculating arrival coordinates. Time became meaningless in the void between stars. Maya drifted in and out of full awareness, sometimes losing herself in the Titan's vast databanks. She discovered records, tactical analyses from the old war, and fragments of memories from test pilots who had briefly interfaced with Prometheus before her. One memory fragment caught her attention: her grandfather, younger than she'd ever seen him, speaking to a group of engineers. "The problem isn't the technology, it's the philosophy. We're trying to create perfect synthesis between human and machine. But perfection has a cost. We're asking the human mind to become something it was never meant to be." The memory faded as Prometheus dropped out of FTL at the edge of Earth's solar system. Maya's consciousness snapped back to full alertness. Through the Titan's long-range sensors, she could see the Krell invasion fleet, over 30 warships surrounding Earth, with smaller vessels shuttling between them and the planet's surface. The orbital defense platforms were silent, destroyed or captured. She also detected scattered human signatures, ships that had survived the initial assault, now regrouped near Mars, preparing for a last desperate counterattack. Among them was a familiar energy signature. The Harbinger had made it back. Maya opened a communication channel on all military frequencies. "This is Commander Maya Chen of the ESS Harbinger, piloting Prometheus. Earth Defense Fleet, I am inbound to your position. Prepare for counteroffensive." Admiral Hayes himself responded, his voice thick with disbelief. "Chen, we received the Harbinger's report, but, my God, you actually found it. You're piloting a war Titan." "Yes, sir. Prometheus is combat-ready and preparing to engage the Krell fleet." "Chen, Maya," the Admiral's voice softened. "The neural load, you know what it's doing to you." Maya knew. She could feel it already. The headaches, the nosebleeds, the occasional blackouts. Her grandfather's warning echoed in her mind. 72 hours before cerebral hemorrhaging begins. She'd been linked for nearly 15 already. "I understand the cost, Admiral," she replied, "and I accept it. Now, shall we save our planet?" The remaining Earth fleet consisted of 17 ships of various classes, all damaged to some degree. Against 30 Krell warships, they stood no chance, unless the battle's parameters could be changed. Admiral Hayes quickly briefed Maya on their situation. "The Krell mothership is in geostationary orbit above what used to be New Geneva. It's coordinating their entire invasion force. Our plan was to throw everything we have at it in one suicide run, hoping to take it out." "You won't need to sacrifice the fleet," Maya replied. "Prometheus was built for exactly this scenario. I can breach their defensive line and target the mothership directly. The fleet should focus on creating a diversion and handling any ships that break off to intercept me." "You're talking about a solo assault against the entire Krell fleet." Through Prometheus's sensors, Maya studied the Krell formation. Yes, this Titan was designed to be a force multiplier. It's time to see if it lives up to that promise. The plan was set. As Prometheus accelerated toward Earth, the remaining human fleet launched from Mars, weapons firing at maximum range to draw the Krell's attention. The diversion worked. 20 of the Krell warships broke formation to engage the human fleet, leaving 10 plus the mothership in orbit around Earth. Maya pushed Prometheus to full combat readiness, weapons systems charging, defensive matrices at maximum power. The Titan moved with frightening speed for its size, closing the distance to Earth's orbit in minutes rather than hours. The first wave of Krell interceptors reached her position, hundreds of fighter-sized craft swarming around Prometheus like angry insects. Maya deployed the Titan's point defense systems, thousands of micro-lasers that tracked and fired with impossible precision, swatting the smaller craft from space. But quantity had a quality all its own. For every interceptor destroyed, 2 more took its place. They began landing hits, scoring Prometheus's armor with plasma burns and explosive impacts. Maya felt each hit as a dull pain through the neural interface. She pressed forward, ignoring the damage reports flooding her consciousness. The remaining Krell warships were moving to intercept, forming a defensive line between Prometheus and the mothership. Their weapons began firing in coordinated salvos, creating a barrier of energy and explosive force that no conventional vessel could survive. Prometheus was no conventional vessel. Maya diverted power from non-essential systems to the Titan's primary shields and braced for impact. The barrage hit with such force that for a moment, the Titan's forward momentum stalled. Alarms blared throughout its systems as shield capacity dropped precipitously. Shield integrity at 28%. Primary weapon systems sustaining damage. Recommend tactical withdrawal and reassessment. Maya ignored the Titan's combat eye. Withdrawal wasn't an option. Earth had hours, not days. Instead, she did something that the original engineers never intended. She diverted power from Prometheus's safety systems, including the neural interface's medical monitors. The pain increased tenfold as raw data flooded her brain without the buffer protocols, but the Titan's performance surged. Prometheus broke through the barrage, closing rapidly on the first Krell warship. Before it could maneuver away, Maya brought the Titan's fist down on the vessel's command section, tearing through armor plating and structural supports. With her other hand, she deployed an energy blade that sliced through the ship's power core. The Krell vessel exploded, the blast temporarily obscuring Prometheus from the other warship's sensors. Maya used that moment of confusion to accelerate through the gap in their formation, taking heavy fire, but advancing inexorably toward the mothership. 3 more Krell warships moved to block her path. She destroyed one with Prometheus's particle cannon, crippled another with a barrage of missiles, but the third managed to ram the Titan, locking them together in a deadly embrace. Inside the neural chamber, blood now flowed freely from Maya's nose and ears. The strain was becoming critical. Her vision blurred, and for moments she lost connection with some of Prometheus's systems. But she held on, forcing her consciousness to remain integrated with the Titans. With a titanic effort, she tore the Krell ship apart, using Prometheus's hands to rip its hull open like a tin can. The path to the mothership was clear. The Krell mothership was massive, nearly a mile long, its surface bristling with weapons and sensor arrays. As Prometheus approached, it unleashed its full arsenal. Energy beams, plasma torpedoes, and gravitational distortion weapons struck the Titan from all directions. Maya felt Prometheus's armor failing, systems shutting down across its frame. The Titan was being torn apart piece by piece, but it still advanced, pushed forward by Maya's indomitable will. and the momentum of its charge. "Admiral," she gasped through the comm system, her voice barely recognizable. "Target, almost, in range." "Chen, your life signs are critical," Hayes responded, alarm evident in his voice. "Prometheus is broadcasting your biometrics. You need to disengage." "No time," Maya replied. Through failing sensors, she could see that the mothership was preparing to jump to FTL, having recognized the threat Prometheus posed. "One shot. Need one clean shot." With her remaining strength, Maya diverted all of Prometheus's power, including life support and neural interface stability systems, to the Titan's primary weapon. The particle cannon began to glow with energy never meant to be channeled through it at once. Prometheus raised its arm, targeting the mothership's central command spire. Maya felt blood vessels bursting in her brain, felt her consciousness beginning to fragment under the neural load. But she held on long enough to give one final command. For Earth. The particle cannon fired, a lance of pure destruction that pierced the mothership from bow to stern. For a moment, nothing happened. Then secondary explosions began to ripple across the massive vessel as its power core destabilized. Maya watched through dying sensors as the mothership began to break apart, its destruction sending shockwaves through the Krell command structure. The remaining enemy ships fell into disarray, their coordinated attacks becoming erratic and unfocused. The human fleet pressed its advantage, Admiral Hayes directing a counterattack that targeted the now confused Krell forces. Without their mothership to coordinate them, the invaders were vulnerable. Inside Prometheus, Maya's body convulsed one final time as the neural interface failed completely. The last thing she felt was the Titan's systems shutting down around her, its great frame going dormant once more. Her final thought wasn't fear or regret, but a simple satisfaction. The mission was complete. Earth would survive. 3 days later, Admiral Hayes stood in the newly established command center in what remained of New Geneva. Reports from around the globe confirmed what they had already suspected. The Krell invasion had collapsed after the destruction of their mothership. The remaining enemy forces had either been destroyed or had fled the system. Lieutenant Cato entered the command center, his uniform disheveled from days without rest. "Sir, recovery teams have located Prometheus. It's drifting in high orbit, systems offline but structure mostly intact." Hayes nodded. "And Commander Chen?" Cato's expression told him everything before the words came. Medical teams recovered her body from the neural interface chamber. The system overload was catastrophic, sir. Hayes closed his eyes briefly. She knew what she was signing up for. Made her choice. "Yes, sir. The engineers examining Prometheus say its neural core has been fundamentally altered. Chen's consciousness, it changed the Titan somehow. They're not sure if anyone else could pilot it now, even if we repaired it." "Maybe that's for the best," Hayes replied. "Some weapons are too costly to use." He stared at the holographic display showing Earth, its orbital defense grid already being rebuilt. "But we'll keep it, in case we ever need it again." "Sir," another officer called from across the room. "We're picking up unusual signals from the edge of the system. It appears the Krell are sending a transmission." "Let's hear it," Hayes ordered. The message was translated through their systems, the alien language converted to human speech. "The worthy warrior has fallen in honorable combat. The war ends. The strong have proven their right to exist. We withdraw to reflect on what we have learned of humanity." Hayes's expression was unreadable. "Send no response," he finally said, "but maintain alert status." As the command center returned to its work, Hayes walked to the large observation window overlooking the recovering city. Somewhere above, the dormant form of Prometheus orbited Earth, a reminder of both humanity's ingenuity and its sacrifice. "Sleep well, Commander Chen," he whispered. "You bought us time. And next time, we'll be ready." In the darkness of space, Prometheus drifted silently, its systems powered down but not entirely dead. Deep within its neural core, Fragments of Maya Chen's consciousness remained, integrated with the Titan's programming in ways the engineers had never anticipated. Not quite alive, not quite machine,